Hello, classmates. Thank you for tuning into Yale 62 interviews. I'm Dick Reisling, a recently appointed class of 62 corresponding secretary and member of our communications team. This is our second interview, and there are many more in the works. Today, let's welcome classmate Charles Eisendrath. Charles, let's begin by reviewing what you've written about in your life, what you've been up to so far. Let's take a look then at your career at the University of Michigan, and then we're going to focus on downstream from here. A big life in a small place, and still I'm hoping that we have some time to get to your thoughts on the role of journalism in these very troubled times for our country. So, Charles, first of all, your biography.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, at our age, you know, it goes on and on and on. I'll be brief. I started out as a reporter for the Baltimore Evening Sun, and then I became a foreign correspondent for Time. Had lovely assignments in London, Paris, and Buenos Aires before coming back home. I won a grant to study at the University of Michigan. Thought after 7 years abroad, it was time I came home with the family. By that time I had one. And being a professor looked pretty good to me. So I stayed where I was and became a professor, ran a master's program and a graduate program for a while, and then ended up becoming director of the fellowship program that I had started. And that led to adventures in development. To my utter horror, I became a fundraiser. And because I didn't take it too seriously, I think it worked. And so $60 million of endowment later, the program became self-supporting, and I became a hero. This was a total mystery to me, but a wonderful one. I also started something called the Livingston Awards for Young Journalists. It's sort of a Pulitzer Prize for the young, under 35. So that meant that we found wonderful people, given their first real national recognition, like David Remnick of The New Yorker, or Christiane Amanpour, or even Tom Friedman, although he got a Pulitzer the same year. So it was fun. And my theory was you could lead parallel lives. You didn't have to do one at a time. So I also took up farming, your game, only instead of animals. I had the wisdom to plant trees, which require a lot less work, or at least not everyday work. And then I would write an essay every summer, throw it in a box and not look at it. And then retirement coming up, I thought, oh my God, I better look at this box. And I expected to find 75 pages. Nope, there were 350. And I thought, oh my God, this is a book. I've got to do something. So that's where the book came from. But again, there was something else. I was really, really bored learning how to write badly for a university. I mean, you have to write atrocities. So while I was supposed to be doing that, a book on the French press that was so boring it put me to sleep while I was writing it, I scribbled designs for barbecue grills. And by God, one of them hit. It's now called Grillworks USA. It's run by my son, and doing very well.
What a terrific review for us. Let's take a look at some of the stories in your book, Downstream from Here.
Okay. Wait, what? You me to pick them or you pick them?
I think you better pick them. You know which ones would have the most flair and resonate most with our classmates.
Well, I don't know about the flair part.
We're asking you to be our first pitch to this kind of interview. We want to hear from as many people as possible, and we've already made a great start with you. That's for sure.
Well, I'm going to do. I'll start with the squeals of the stories. The people who are thinking about a memoir of a journalist or an academic probably aren't really up for hearing much about FDR, but that's one of the surprising pieces in this book, I think. FDR in a wheelchair during World War II, at a time we were losing it in 1943. His staff couldn't find any place to have him go fishing. He liked open water, and he was in a wheelchair. So couldn't do the Atlantic coast, too many U-boats. Couldn't do the Gulf Coast, too many U-boats. couldn't do the Pacific Coast, too many Japanese. And some genius on his staff said, hey, there's the Great Lakes. Let's go to the Great Lakes. They ended up commandeering a yacht not far from where our farm is, from the Loeb family. They had a great time. They drank uncounted bottles of bourbon, according to their own report, caught tons of fish. And when they returned the boat to the Loeb family, who were Republicans, the story goes that the Loebs fumigated the boat to get rid of any whiff of Democratic sentiment. There are also ruminations on all kinds. My neighbors, the Gaunts, 82, Bill Gaunt cut off his left foot with a sickle bar mower. And it was hanging on by a tendon, but he was a farmer and one generation from the frontier. So he put his wife in her gingham sun cap and drove them both in a stick shift car to the hospital where they were met by some child surgeon. And who said, don't worry, old fellow, we'll take this off for you. And he said, I can take it off. I got a knife right here. Your job is to put it back on. So he did. And it worked tolerably well for the rest of his life.
I'll be darned. Wow, great stories. Really wonderful stories there. And just share with our classmates some of the reviews that we got from here. And I'm happy to hear that some of them were actually part of the program that you had there at the University of Michigan. Tom Brokaw, we still see him once in a while. He still looks okay. He calls it lyrical. Jeff Daniels says it's inspiring. But here's one that really I love. Christian Amopour, she gives it 5 stars. Ken Aletta says it's mesmerizing. Richard Ford, is that our Richard Ford from our class? Or
no, that's the Pulitzer Prize winner for Richard.
Okay, Ford. He calls you an amiable Virgil. So I guess we ought to have some more people take an inside look at this book, Downstream from here.
I never thought of myself as an amiable Virgil, but what the hell?
Well, you're doing a pretty good facsimile, but right here, that's for sure. It's pretty good. All right, this is the another part that's kind of a favorite part for me, and we don't have many minutes left, but for 3 or 4 minutes, if you have such an interest, and I don't know this to be the case, but we are in very troubled times, and the media or journalism, one of the real stars of the media, have, I hope, reflected on what their responsibility is in a time like this. They're being vilified around the world. They're being murdered in many, many, many countries of the world. If you have any connection with that, tell us about it a little bit. And if you have any thoughts about why journalism might be a more attractive field for more people now, because we simply need better information, maybe less information, but better information that has some true commitment to the truth, because we have in our society too much bifurcation, too much dissension. So your thoughts about these issues, if you would.
I could talk about that for weeks, but I'll spare you. I'll say, I guess, 2 things. One is that I had some considerable experience as a war correspondent. I covered 3. It's a hairy business. The people who are doing it now find it even hairier because there's so much less control of anything in any theater of the war. My scariest was in the coup in Chile. I was the only any person to get a story out then.
Wow.
But the main thing I want to say is the business of journalism has imploded. We're in a period like the 15th century when Gutenberg set up the movable type in Germany. And you got to remember that was followed by at least 150 years of warfare, not unrelated to movable type. You could communicate much faster. The institutions were not ready for it. It gave us the Protestant Revolution, among other things. So the fact that there are a lot of wars going on, it should not surprise anybody. It's not going to stop either. The third thing I want to say is this is a great time to become a journalist. The cost of entry is near 0. As watching the fellows go through, the most successful make lots of money. They work their heads off. They have no support, but it's thrilling. And I helped invent really 3 little news organizations. basically done with 3 emails. So it's exciting, but we ain't there yet. And the main casualty is local news, which is gone. Our national outlets are pretty good, and they're healthier than ever. Thank you very much. Punch Sulzberger of the New York Times once said, "But you want to make good journalism? Put a few more tomatoes in the soup." I agree with him.
Yeah, let's get some garlic and some onions in there, and some other things too.
Yep.
Okay, maybe something from your trees. I should go back to that just for a moment because what kind of trees did you grow on your farm?
Oh, cherry trees, tart
Cherry
cherry trees. And just recently, we started a maple syrup operation. If anybody wants to buy some syrup as well as a book, we're open for business.
Okay, you said recently, so a fellow with your tenure age is starting a new industry on the farm.
I never had any judgment, so why start now?
Well, you're certainly an amiable Virgil, that's for sure. And my golly, I know I missed a lot, and I think now I've gained a lot, and I certainly hope that this means that a lot of our classmates will be encouraged by your wonderful rendition here about yourself and your life. I'm sure Yale was a big part of that, as it was for me and so many of the other, many of our classmates.
There are also Yale stories in there.
Aha.
About Brad Westerfield and the CIA and all kinds of stuff.
Oh, Brad Westerfield, yeah. That was in the days of Vietnam, wasn't it? Yep, I remember him. Over in Timothy Dwight, he was a fellow. Yeah, no kidding. Good.
So are we out of time?
No, we're just about out of time. Last comments?
Well, I think I made them.
All right. Good enough. Charles, thank you for joining us. Thanks a great deal to you. And now I want to address to our classmates, we ask you, following Charles Eisendrath's wonderful presentation today, to consider volunteering for an interview and to give us some feedback on this way of sharing with others. And with that, we say good day to everybody.
Thanks, Dick.